with $5,000, 1,000 of which we had to spend for publicity stuff, the way we worked, I had friends who came in and worked for nothing. They would come in when they finished their work. They were having fun. And in my mind and their mind, it was the glimmer of hope that someday I'd be able to pay them. And of course, someday I did. But they were having a good time in a way, you know, taking up this challenge. And so that's the way we were able to get going. In any case, when we had a period of a little bit of income from the fin pipe, we then addressed the question of baseboard. Here's an interesting thing that developed. By that time, we were selling to some extent in Canada. And we were ready to make a fin element. Now, of course, a baseboard element has a very light gauge fin, could be as little as 10 thousandths. If you put a straight fin across there, that fin is easily subject to damage. Our competitors, after we came out and after playing with it, I realized that you couldn't make the V going back to the root. It was just that we tried that. It just gave you a weak fin. And the breakthrough idea, it's simple, was to carry to a position of what we called fin touch fin. This double 45 bend, and actually you could stand on top of this, and it's strong enough to carry the weight because of that construction. Yeah. This was an important, genuine improvement, simple as it is. Our competitors, we patented it, our competitors have dealt with it by running a plastic protector on four corners. More expensive, not as effective, and so forth. This technique was really very useful for us. So we got into the baseboard business. There are certain little tricks we had to learn about dampers and how you use dampers. The inside stuff of making it so it functions properly and easily.
How did you get the rest of the wholesale distribution across the country? How'd that happen?
Well,
because I understand that this happened, you were getting like a wholesaler every week at one point, huh?
Oh, yeah, more. We're actually getting, we had a list at the company where the sales manager would add to the wholesalers. It's interesting. You know, wholesalers are hard to come by, of course, especially now. Yeah. But we used to put up, it seems to me, several every week of new wholesalers. I'll tell you a funny story about that. There was a guy who came to visit us, Max Wallach. He was a beer salesman. Somebody said, look, the beer company is taking over the routes and they're letting go of these people. Why don't you interview Max? And this was early in our history. We had just before then gotten into the baseboard manufacture. Max Wallach came, and there was something about the guy that would catch anybody. You know, he was lively, good, nice guy, knowledgeable from selling beer. You have to know how to handle salesmanship, get your stuff up on the shelf and so on. And the funny part of this is that when I hired Max, and then my colleagues, my brother-in-law, who was then maybe about 37, 38, said to me, what'd you do with Max? I said, I hired him. He said, you hired him? He said, and Max at that time was 45. He said, you hired him? He's 45 years old. What are we going to do with such an old guy in our company? That was really very characteristic of the way the thinking was. And that guy was a super salesman. He taught the rest of the people, you know, really how to sell. And we galloped along on the sales. Of course, we were very fortunate, Dan, because that was in a period in which the market was wide open. Baseboard was new on the scene. We were lucky to be able to capitalize on it. and developed wholesalers and had dealer meetings and so forth, because the idea of using baseboard had first to be made comfortable to contractors. It's hard to think of it now, where people just take it for granted.